podcast over at WildGamesProductions.com and D20Radio.com.
Between the time when wargamers played with chainmail and the rise of the Wizards of the Coast, there was an age of gamers. And unto this, Gygax, destined to bear the crown jewel of TSR upon a troubled brow, to show you all how to roll for initiative.
The Roll for Initiative podcast, issue number 80, volume number 2. Or I should say volume number 2, issue number 80. I am DM Vince, sitting alongside DM and Nick.
Hello, everybody.
And fan fave, Bismarcky himself.
Come on now, this is DM Will. Hello, everyone.
DM Will, yes. And a blast from the past, Mr. I've sunken into the dark corners of 4E and saved today by us, DM Crispy.
Oh, baby, you got what I need.
See, that's what 4th edition does to you.
Yeah? Makes you sing Bismarcky, right?
I actually have some good news, Vince.
Oh,
good news to you.
For me.
I'm taking all my 4E players into the land of swords and wizardry.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
What made you convince him to do that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just really, I finished up my one-shot for 4E, and I'm like, really just want to play old school games.
Well, that's good.
Good for you.
Out of the dark recession you come.
Come to the dark side. We have cookies.
No.
Well, you want to see? I know why he's doing it, because Vince, he didn't tell you the whole story yet. He's not telling you how the Forgotten Realms and all that's fixing to be blown up with Loth taking over with the invasion of the Underdark.
Yeah, I read about that recently. I'm just like, I stopped caring about Forgotten Realms when the Spell Plague happened. I was like, nope.
Loth has come back, and this time she's coming back full force. She's trying to take over.
Yeah, I stopped.
As long as she wears a really awesome bikini, I'm good.
Yeah. Oh, boy. So, let's see. Conventions. What's coming up, Will?
Let me see here. I'm trying to think right now. This is this is April now. April. I'm losing track of what's going on and everything. Unfortunately, I could not go to NorwestCon last week. I had a kidney stone issue that prevented me from going, so that was really a terrible thing that happened at that time. That would have been my 3rd convention in a row. However, in May, I have Enfilade, which is the largest wargaming convention here on the West Coast. And that's going to be in Olympian. And when I'm talking about war games, I'm talking about war gamers. These are people that have been doing war games since the 60s and 70s. Yeah. And, all the war games all the way up to now, GMT games, Avalon Hill, and all that stuff. And now, of course, it's not a very exclusive convention. If people want to play other stuff, they can bring their games in and play there too as well. Yeah. A lot of sand table stuff. And, of course, your favorite Circus Maximus will be run there too as well.
Awesome.
Oh, sweet.
We're talking like the old school guys with the long beards and the dirty fingers from the pipe smoke and everything. And
that's right, and we're doing the small miniatures, which are almost, you talk about 15 millimeter. These things are like 10 millimeter. They're doing, all the Civil War stuff, battles of Normandy. Any war that goes back from the time of 0, whatever, all the way up to now.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. We're doing a lot of gaming down there.
Yep. And let's see. So we got that convention. We have North Texas RPG Con coming up in June, which I'm looking forward to. Hopefully we can get Nick to come down.
Well, we'll see about that.
Crispy can come over this way too.
Possibly. It's $40 to fly in, and if I can stay with either you or Mike or Liz.
I'm sure. We'll talk about it. All right. You always have a Crisper around.
Hell yeah! I gotta get a new sod shirt.
Yes, you do.
Well, I'm going to still try to at least make it out to Gen Con in August, just over the weekend if I can. So there's 50-50 chance there.
Well, we're back in the race for the Annie Award again, so we'll see what happens.
Yay!
Good to go.
See if they throw us out.
Remember,
this time.
vote and vote often.
And vote as many times as you can. Yes. Actually, sadly, people don't have an influence over the first round or second round at all. There's no people vote. It's just judges. They get to judge us. Yes.
With deep pockets.
Well, go talk to some people Will, and hook us up.
Yeah, throw them some miniatures their way or something like that. There you go.
Speaking about miniatures, Will, you were working on a project with tiles.
Oh, yeah. What I'm doing is I posted the pictures on there and everything, and basically what it came down to it. I'm a big, huge fan of Dwarven Forge, so I'm not trying to offend those Dwarven Forge fans out there and everything, but I tell you, I went to Hearst Arts and used their molds where I actually making the same things that Dwarven Forge produces. It's much more modular. And, it's just great. But you really got to go to the OSR forums, look at the pictures, I give you the description. And the best thing about it, though, regardless of anything, is the price. Because just with one box of Dwarven Forge, which costs $60, it only gives you about 290 feet, maybe of hallway or close to it. But here, with the cost of $70, I can get 3,600 feet.
Holy cow!
Well, and that's when I say this, I'm talking the bag of Hydra Stone is a 50-pound bag. Yeah. I have only used about 10, 15 pounds of it, and already coming close to about 3,600. It's 3,680 100 feet of hallway, 10-foot by 10-foot tiles of hallway.
Oh my God!
And once I'm done with the hallways, I already started on the walls. The walls are the next part, and I started the walls, but haven't painted them yet and did all that. But that'll come up in the next 2 weeks or so. But in the long run, like I said, it's a fun thing to do. You take pride in it. If you want to use the D&D tiles, you can do that too as well. But like I said, I like that 3D effect.
Man, that's where it's like you go, I'm going to make that Temple of Elemental Evil to scale right here.
Now, where did you list, Will, where did you list it in the forum so I can get the link for that for people?
Oh, what is the link to it?
I'm going to find the link that you're talking. Just tell me where you put it.
Where was it at?
Yeah.
Oh, my Lord. I'm trying to think, where was it at? I think I did it in the Game and Reviews, because I'm doing a review on the Hearst Arts and Dwarven Forge.
Okay.
So, yeah. Now, one thing I do want to mention, you brought that up, that's good you brought that up, Nick, was that actually what I'm doing is in memory of Gene Wells, who did Palace of the Silver Princess, if everyone remembers that module from the old days. Yep. My intent is my first project will be the entire first and second floor of the Palace of the Silver Princess. And once I get that all completed, I'm going to take it to the gaming store, put the tables together, and I'm going to fill it out all the way, including walls, doors, and then I'll take a picture of it.
Oh, man, that's going to be beautiful.
And there's going to be a nice thing there dedicated to Gene Wells.
She would
cool.
Like that. Yep. Yeah, she would like that.
Yeah, I miss her. She was awesome. I love that module.
Cool. So, Actual Play Podcast, that one is Legend of the Fin Fang Foom I'm doing is almost done.
Oh, wow.
I have another maybe session or two, or another podcast to post or two. Well, another one just went up today. It'll be a total of 10 podcast sessions out there. And then I'll be going into some other old school games. We were talking maybe playing some DC Heroes or some V&V or maybe some D6 Star Wars. Just something to
Hey, you better call me on that Star Wars now. If you're doing WG, you better call me. The D6 version, you better call me.
Okay.
I love that.
That would be awesome. Yeah, I do too. I love D6 Star Wars. Well, also, if you do any of the old Marvel superheroes, I'd be there.
I'll play Aunt May.
When she gets the powers of Galactus or not?
She was still just as good without those powers.
Yeah. Sure.
Oh, by the way, are they going to kill Fin Fang Foom?
Who knows?
I got to find out about that. You got to let me know on that.
Yeah, you listen and find out.
Oh, I'm listening. I wanted to see what's going to happen.
Okay. So anyway, so Crispy.
Yes, sir.
What have you been doing? You've been gone for a long time.
I've been not playing any games, actually.
Dun, dun, dun.
Shame on you.
Life got in the way. Well, work and school and... Not me, school. Well, I'm trying to go to school. That's the other thing I've been doing. Mm-hmm. It's prepping to go to college soon.
You don't need work.
And then I work, I work full-time, and I work a couple hours away from where I live. And then other than that, playing old-school video games, the roguelikes and dungeon crawls and stuff like that. and prepping for my campaign. So I'm taking them a few. It's an undetermined amount of time, but it's 2 like eras of history passed from the last time we played in this campaign world, and so there's going to be a couple players who are familiar with it, and there's going to be a lot of different stuff. And other than that, just thinking about that stuff and plotting out what I want them to do, because none of them have played old school games, or the ones that have played very little. So it's going to be very interesting. Because, there's no... It's Swords and Wizardry, so it's the 0E retro clone.
Yeah.
And it's Brown Book of D&D with some supplements.
Yeah.
I mean, there aren't even rules for, like, morale. There's no rules for, like, NPC reactions. It's just, like, role-play this out. And there are no skills, and they've only ever played 40 and Pathfinder, so it's going to be really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. They're going to be like, so what do I roll? You don't have to.
Yeah.
What's great is there's, like, a ranger, a cleric, and 2 spellcasters. I actually took... Yeah, I took the Magus from Pathfinder, and I kind of retrofit it for Swords and Wizardry, or just actually Labyrinth Lord, because that's what we were originally going to play, but really like Swords and Wizardry. It's really good.
Wow. You took the Magus? You took the Magus from Pathfinder and converted to Sword and Wizardry?
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's an awesome character class, and I'd like to see how you did that conversion, which is ironic.
Yeah, I have my notes. I'm still typing it out, but basically, they fight like a fighter. They have a cleric hit die, magic user saves.
Right.
And then I gave it the arcane pool and spell combat. So it's 3,800 experience points to get to 2nd level.
Wow.
Yeah, and then it progresses as per the fighter after that, because it's more fightery than magic usery, and it casts spells like a magic user, but at 2/3 the power. So, like, if it casts a fireball at level 6. It's going to do 4 dice instead of 6 dice.
Yeah, but it gets to attack and cast spells through its weapons. So I don't know if you do on all of like the Pathfinder version, but yeah, I got a friend that's playing a Magus, and let me tell you, those bad boys are just awesome.
Magus is like my favorite class. It's so cool. It did the fighter magic user thing right, but I mean, they don't really have a dedicated fighter aside from someone's ranger. So I keep telling them, you guys need to hire some fighters.
Yeah, you need some sword jocks.
Yeah.
No rogues? I didn't hear no thieves, anything.
Nope. I'm not going to tell them about that. I'm going to be kind of a dick. I'll let them, try and disarm traps and look for them. They'll have a 1 in 6 chance. I think that's fair.
I think the best way to disarm traps is just telling the fighter to walk straight, open up everything, and if a trap goes off, but that's how you disarm it.
Just, if you think there might be a poison needle in the trap, or in the door, just break it down.
10-foot pole, 10-foot pole, baby.
Yeah, there are other ways around these things. You don't necessarily need a thief.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
No problem.
Well, I have to say, I'm looking at the pictures for your tiles.
Right.
They're really professionally done. Good job, my friend.
No. It's kind of fun, and I appreciate the kind comments. Let me tell you something, though. It's not that hard. It's easy.
They look really good, dude. Like, if you were a store selling these things, I'd be all over this.
Well, that's funny how you bring that up. I have a lawyer friend in Seattle who wants to see the entire layout of the Palace of the Silver Princess. He offered me $1,500 for the entire thing once I'm completely done and set up. He wants to come down and look at it, and he's going to probably bite off $1,500 if I want to sell it. I'm not certain yet if I want to sell it, because then I have to start over from scratch again and do the whole thing all over again, and that's not really what I want to do yet at this time. But it's easy.
That really cool bluish tile coloring to it.
Oh yeah, actually, honestly, it's because of it's kind of funny how you say that. It's really not really bluish, but what happened was with the flash, it makes it look a bit bluish. But what I did was basically I primed it in black, I painted it dark gray, and then I used cold gray to just dry brush the cold gray on it. And let me tell you, these things are awesome.
Yeah.
The mold is $29 for that particular mold, and you can use it forever. You can make billions of feet of this stuff.
Wow, these are really nice, Will. Like,
Billions upon billions of feet.
billions and billions of hallways.
Well, I'm being a little facetious. No, these molds last forever. They're awesome. They're made of this really thick, moldable, malleable, not malleable, but it's like a latex type of material.
Moldable.
Hard rubber. It's really nice mold. And you can cast forever. And this stuff, I'm popping the cast every 30 minutes.
Jeez.
So I'm
Wow, those are nice.
So you're just like going through feet of hallway in like an afternoon. You've just got
oh, yeah. Yeah, but
dozens of feet of this stuff.
Yeah, and I'm just going on. Like, in one day, I can make, let's see, 1, 2, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. I could probably do about 200 square feet of it a day. And then the walls are even longer. I'm also doing walls, but I haven't done the pictures yet of all that stuff yet. You'll see the walls in 2 weeks.
Jeez.
Yep.
That's very nice.
And one other fun thing, the wall mold, just that one mold alone, you can actually make a building out of it. With all the pieces that you can make out of this mold, you can make a complete castle building out of it. And they show all the instructions on how to do that. It's absolutely amazing. And this stuff doesn't cost nothing. I think the most expensive thing that I bought was the wall mold, which is $34. Everything else was under $20.
Well, now you just, man, Will, I have to tell you, now I found something else to spend my money on.
Yeah, really.
My wife will hate you for it.
Yeah.
No, but look at this, though. If you don't want to buy the molds, I have no problem sending them to you, let you try them out, and if you like them, just you send mine back, and then you buy your own, but you better give me mine back.
Well, it doesn't sound. It sounds like that they're really not that expensive. So,
Well, the molds are $29 to $34 each, and this guy's been doing this for quite some time, and this is something I've been wanting to do for a long time, but really didn't make the time for it. But now I have all this time, and I said, you know what? And you know what? I have no problem mailing you some of these things for you to feel them. At the bottom of the mold, I use that real thin foam paper.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it's just perfect. It's just like, you can't beat this stuff, and it matches up so nice.
Yeah. All right, cool. Let's head into some sage advice.
Master! They're at the gates again! Master! It looks like another band of adventurers!
Adventurers again? Always the same. Coming to me for sage advice.
Sage advice this week has been brought to you by Crispy. The Crispy. No, I'm just kidding.
When you're in a bind, I got nothing.
Yeah, when you're in a bind, take a pill of Crispy.
You got nothing. You're done.
bite of crispy.
It sounds like a piece of candy.
Or a bowel movement thing. We have 2 emails this week. You can write us at rfistaff@gmail.com, or you can call 570-865-4210, the hotline.
The hotline.
So, this message comes from DM Montana. He was reading a post about massive wilderness exploration campaigns and inspired him to begin his own campaign based upon that. He started gaming with Sword and Wizardry a couple years ago. Now he's moved on to AD&D. So I guess he found S&W and moved his way up. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that is.
So his questions for us is how he can make a mega dungeon campaign out of the wilderness, how to make a good wilderness map, want some advice on, how to form a living wilderness that is constantly changing, any module recommendations for inspiration so we can reference, and how to keep his players coming back to these Wilderlands after they've reached the higher levels. Thanks for your time, guys, and I love listening to your shows. Montana.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's pretty ambitious.
Very ambitious.
I would say a good module to check out is X2. Isle of Dread.
Yeah, Isle of Dread,
one.
absolutely. Yeah.
I love running that module for
You know what comes from my B5?
B5?
5.
On Horror on the Hill?
Yeah, I was going to ask if that was Horror on the Hill.
That one comes to mind because there's a lot of outside exploration to do in the wilderness there. And going up the hill and everything.
Yeah.
Definitely wants to get hex graphing paper to draw out his...
I think either B5 or X2 are really good starts to get some inspiration from.
Right.
And I think one of the things that you're going to find in common, probably at least with X2, is you want to keep it as loose as possible as far as plot line. You want to run a sandbox environment, lots of random encounters. You might want to have a few places which are static, like settlements and what have you. Maybe some ruins, some forgotten cities. Definitely you're going to have to use a lot of random encounter tables.
Well, the Wilderness Survival Guide is going to be his best friend.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's going to be a very good supplement for you to get if you don't already have it.
Yeah, as far as keeping constantly changing, that's going to kind of be up to you as DM to constantly change things. There's no automatic for that.
Right. I guess it also depends on what kind of outside environment you're going to have. Are you going to have a standard forest setting? Is it going to be more of desert? Is it going to be an Arctic/tundra type setting? So that's going to factor in a lot of things. That's going to factor into it a lot as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny you say that when you talk about modules, especially when it comes to terrain. Dwellers of the Forbidden City, I believe, is I-1.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Very good jungle one. Very good jungle one. You know what? I'm surprised you didn't bring this up here there, Vince. U1, U2, and U3. For swamps.
Yeah, forgot about that.
Underwater. And, that is just an excellent thing.
That's Salt Marsh, right?
That's
the Salt Marsh series.
Yes.
You got it.
It's just totally excellent. Now, I remember a while back, I don't know if you're familiar with CM1 Test of the Warlord.
Yes, I have that, yes.
Oh, yeah, you should know that because remember, that is a good one, too, with those hexes in there. And I believe it had a way of, determining what was in a hex because I believe in there that hexes were 7 miles wide at its longest.
Yeah, those are those tournament modules they made up.
That's right. And if you use that, now you can make you got a regular hex when you look at the Owl of Dread from X1, but when you go into, when you blow this hex up, it's 7 miles across, or maybe it's 14 miles across. It's one or the other. Then you can start filling in those little hexes of that entire big area. So, yeah, and just like Nick said, you're going to add in your static ones, such as the tombs or the hidden cities or ancient civilizations and ancient ruins or, places where monsters might inhabit. Like if you use a swamp, for example, maybe a certain portion of that hex is controlled by a large black dragon or a black dragon because they love swamps, what have you. Again, it's going to take a lot of imagination if you want to do your own mega terrain for the wilderness. Yeah, and you're going to have to do a lot of changing up. That's a big thing. Now, I will tell you one thing. There's nothing, Nick brought this up. Arctic terrain, all that. There was 3 books that were released for D20. I know we're talking about old school, and I know you're using the Wilderness Survival Guide, but there were 3 books totally dedicated to those particular environments. One was, are you all familiar with these books, D20?
Yeah.
There was 3 of them, and I'm trying to think. I think one was called Coldscape, but that's not the right one. I just can't think of their names right now. I have to look them up later. But go ahead.
Is it for D&D? For D20 D&D?
Yes, it was D20. There was 3 of them. They were specifically designed for terrain, if you wanted to make those kind of terrain. One was dealing with the overland terrain in cold. Well, I think it was called Coldscape. And I can't remember the other 2 for the life of me, and that's unfortunate because they were really great supplemental material for you to design an overland terrain adventures and how to develop them. I wish I knew what their names are. I didn't know we was going to get into this subject today.
There's Dungeonscape here.
Dungeonscape was one.
Are you thinking of maybe Stormrack for?
There you go. That's the one for the ocean. Stormrack. Yeah. That's one of them. That's right. Stormrack. I
don't know the third.
Yeah, the one with the cold Arctic lands. Let me tell you, those 3 books, if you can get your hands on them, those are going to assist you tremendously in developing that wilderness terrain. Yeah, that's awesome.
I just remembered another one, which is actually by Judges Guild that was produced in the late 70s, the Wilder Lands of High Fantasy. I don't know if you could find the original or if it's in PDF out there somewhere still. But if you could get your hands on the Wilder Lands by Judges Guild, I think they also did a conversion up to the current version of D&D or something like that.
Don't buy it because they want $450 for that now.
Wow.
Okay, never mind. Find a PDF of the original one, or if you can find it on eBay, then find Wilderlands of High Fantasy by Judges Guild. I remember seeing this back in the day, and it's a real good example of a fantasy campaign setting that just deals with all the different hexes and what goes on in that hex. It's not too detailed, but just gives you enough information, I think. So that would be a good template, I guess, to use as well.
Right. And like I said, one thing great, especially if you're doing the stuff like jungles and everything, use those killer plants that are poisonous, man, I love that stuff, man. That's just a magic. And you know where I got those plants from? S3 Expedition into the Barrier Peaks. Remember, they got some of those killer plants in there.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So that's how I remember all the stuff with terrain. Oh, yeah, that stuff's great. I love adventuring in the wilderness. That's some great stuff. And Judges Guild, that's a great example if you can find the older supplement. The new one, if you can find it and you can get it cheap, but don't spend $450 on it or $300 or whatever they're asking for it.
That's, wow.
Great question, though. That's awesome. I wish him luck on that because that takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds
I
like
would say one piece of advice.
Though.
Yeah.
One piece of advice would be keep some of the stuff nebulous. That way, if you come up with new ideas, you always have some place to put it around.
Keep yourself some breathing room. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Just because they explore a hex doesn't mean they've explored everything in a hex.
That's right. Make the hexes big and make sure you have a consistent distance ratio, miles or feet, or however you plan on doing it. And like I said, if you ever get the I3, I4, I5 dealing with the desert, great rules on deserts.
Oh yeah, Desert or Desolation series.
Yes, don't forget those. That's an excellent series because it has a lot of rules on dealing with. But again, if you got the Wilderness Survival Guide, you're doing good anyway. But it's just more material you can add on how they did the deserts and how they formed those maps.
Would you say there's a plethora of information, Senor?
There's a plethora of it.
There's a plethora. What's a plethora?
It's a suero guapo. Anyway, we have another email coming in from Newbie Steve the DM.
This is going to be good.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Guys, I have an issue with combat and especially initiative. Here we go.
Don't we all?
I know Jason cleared this up in the past, but I wanted to clarify things a little further. Does a DM ask for actions of the characters and then allow them to roll for their number? Or do you roll and then go down the line and ask, much like how it's done in 3E? I found no reference except in the DMG, which kind of says you should, but it contradicts itself.
Yeah.
But, he puts "but I did" in caps. Find a reference in Oriental Adventures book that states to follow combat as standard rules and asking for actions and then rolling d6.
Yes, that is correct.
He wants to know, do you roll first or ask for actions first and then roll? Well, according to the book, it's you ask for your actions and then you roll d6.
And that's how it is throughout all of old school D&D.
Yeah.
You always ask for actions first.
And Gary has stated over and over in his forum posts, and even in that memorial book that came out, there was a section on that. The DM must call for actions before the dice is rolled.
But I will tell you an exception to that. I will tell you an exception, and I love Vince, and Vince and me talk about this all the time. But we're not going to get into a fight over it and give him a black eye over it, nothing like that. but I did notice that in some of those modules that I do reviews on, which give, I want to say it was the King's Harvest one, B10, but I might be wrong. It might be the other one, which shows the complete thing. It does say specifically, roll initiative first and then do the actions. Now, remember, this is from the basic end. And so, again, you see that kind of, contradiction in different places and everything. I guess Frank Menser had a different idea about it. Or, Gary said, no, what's going to happen is I want actions, then do initiative, which is fine. It works in any case. But, yes, if you're going to do it by the book, then do it the way that Vince says.
I say, yeah.
Well, I don't feel like arguing for 3,000-4,000 hours on it.
I say it's your game, it's you're the DM, you do it right.
Well, I guess this guy's asking because it was a kind of a by the book thing, and
Right.
it's something that Jason ranted on about that whole podcast about it. So
Yes, I do.
Yeah. And I agree with you, Vince, that, I think that Gary, his intention was that you declare actions first, and then it was doggone then you roll initiative.
yeah,
Right.
But like I said, it all works out one way or another. And in any case, it works out. It works out. Only thing I'm saying is, though, my problem with the whole issue with this is, though, okay, I declare my action. I'm casting magic missile at this particular target. Well, if that target dies, then what am I supposed to do? The magic missile goes off and doesn't hit nothing, or am I allowed to change my target? So, I mean, you're going to see those kind of issues out there.
that's
why spells go off first.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. There we go within segments. Now we go to the segment portion of the combat, which is very important. That's why I wanted to bring that up with the initiative. Do not forget about segments. A lot of people forget that some spells go off on segments, and they don't go off on rounds. Well, some go on rounds, but not all of them go on rounds.
Most of your offensive spells are segment-wise.
That's
Like
right.
Magic Missile, Lightning Bolt, and Fireball. Your holy trinity of offensive spells right there.
Yeah, so just make sure you take into consideration when it comes to spells and those particular actions require segments.
I like old school D&D Classic when there's no segments.
Oh, yeah, that was great. It was just a round.
Just boom, there it goes off. No cares.
Boom, it's done. Yep, over with. You get hit regardless. Even though it's dead, the magic missile strikes the body before it hits the ground.
Yep.
That's the good old days.
Okay, cool. So anyone has any advice to send in, stage advice, rfistaff@gmail.com. 570-865-4210, the hotline.
Go ahead, Nick.
Kobolds are standing by.
There we go. And now we have Crispy standing by. Right, Chris?
No hablo inglés. Necesita. ¿Por qué?
I got nothing.
Necessary to say why? What? All right, let's head into table manners.
Yeah, I remember back in the day, a fella knew how to judge a fireball on the fly and how far the cleric could push the undead he turned. I tell ya, with all these min-maxers and munchkins, metagame and power game, there's something missing that I'm here to learn ya. Now sit down and crack your book while I commence to teach you some.
Table manners.
And that's today's table manners. I am supposed to be talking about convergence, if I'm correct.
Yes, you're converting little people into... No, I'm kidding.
Oh, no, don't start that again and everything. I knew that we was talking about converting the D20 material into... And when I say D20, OGL, I'm actually talking about 3.0 Dungeons & Dragons. And we're supposed to be converting that to older editions. And since we're talking about... This is a first edition podcast. We're going to talk about first edition.
No.
No.
Well, a lot of people were asking. There was a lot of flood in the forums recently of people saying, "Oh, I found this really cool third edition module, really dirt cheap, but I couldn't figure out how to, convert it back to 1E. Can you guys do a special on that?" So we figured, all right, why not?
Well, and interject anytime. Crispy, interject anytime. Just because I'm talking doesn't mean I have monopoly. So that's one of the rules.
No, it's okay.
No.
Interject, please.
When Will talks, we all listen.
No. I want you all to interject.
That's why
he is Bismarck E, by the way.
That's right.
Here we go with that.
Forget Will Wheaton. We have Will Cohen.
I'm not trying to hide my identity to all those people out there trying to be anonymous. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, conversion, conversion, however you want to do it. How do you do this? How do you do that? Let me start with the history on conversions. I know that when 3.0 was released and everything, they had sent to the gaming stores a 3.0 conversion book. Yeah. It was a small booklet. How many pages was it, Nick? About 20 pages, 25 pages?
If you call that small, then fine.
I
had a 22-page conversion book to convert my character. I'm like, what?
And I believe that conversion thing was all about how do I convert my first and second edition character into 3.0 speak, as we call it.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember that. And you know what? When I looked at the book, I laughed, I chuckled, and I threw it in a box that it's somewhere hidden around here somewhere.
Yeah, wasn't the the advice for converting, just basically make a new character of this level.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
they didn't explicitly say that, but by the time you got to that point, you're like, feh. I'll make a new
Yeah, it's
one.
like, multi-class characters, just make a new character.
Exactly. When it came down to it, because I followed the steps, and I looked at it and I said, why am I wasting my time? Yes, Wizard of the Coast, slap your hand, slap your face, slap anything you want. I should have said that. But anyway, it was a total mistake. It was a total waste of time. To convert something to a new edition, it was a pain in the rear end. I despised it. I put the book away and said, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to use my imagination, use my judgment, and I'm going to convert this character to the best of my ability. And then, if there's any missing pieces, then you talk to the DM and says, well, I can't find how to convert this. So, let's talk about how do we convert things. I mean, that's the difficult part. For most people, it's a very difficult thing on how to convert. How do you convert a rule into something new? But you know what? I don't care about the new. We're converting new to old. New to old. So this is the thing.
Well, I guess one of the things you got to do is, one, you're going to have to be at least relatively familiar with both rule sets.
Yeah.
And understand what the saving throws are, how combat works, just all the basic stuff. You don't need a real in the minutia of things, because we're talking about like converting non-player characters, and I guess to a larger extent converting your player characters over. So having a basic knowledge of both rule sets is going to help. So
definitely it's going to help, and you got to have an open mind, and you have to be flexible.
Right, you're just going to have to go in there and use your best judgment in finding the best analogous rule or that is in a particular rule set. For example, saving throws. I mean, in 3E, was it fortitude, reflex, and
will? Yeah,
will. So
and they go up like it's a bonus instead of a number that you
right. You just need to find what is the best analogy, the best thing that is going to be used in first edition. It might be a saving throw versus spell, might not be, depending on, you're going to have to, just go from there. Just the example. I mean, even then, if you're just talking like player characters, you just go by their level and class and look it up in the book, and boom, you've got it in saving throws.
So. See, and one of the things that I look at really, carefully is that when we talk about that. So I'm going to talk about some modules here in just a second. But the thing about conversion, and that's a good thing you brought up the save throw. That's very important, because I look at it like this: if a magic user, hold on, let me do this. Let me do it the regular way, the D20 talk into first edition. The wizard is in D20.
Yeah,
and
the wizard.
He's cast.
He has poor fortitude and a reflex, but goodwill.
But that's if you decide to make his scores into that. He could have a great fortitude if he had a high constitution. But see, my point is on the spells, though. See, this is the fun part. If he casts a fireball spell in first edition AD&D, it would be save versus spell, would it not be?
Yes.
Right.
Okay, but watch this. Now, let's say he cast a fireball from a wand. Now.
No. Oh, God, no. You're comparing caster levels and item caster levels. Oh, no.
Yeah, see, all that weird stuff comes in. But again, what is that first edition character save at? Will it save
versus wands?
Wands, yeah.
Serve. There you go. And
I thought it was still versus spells, though.
No, it's wands.
Nope. Save versus wands.
Yes, it's wands.
That's right. In first edition, you have rods, wands, and staves. Or staves. Staves. People call them staves. I call them staffs. So, I mean, that might be incorrect anyway.
No, that's staffs, right? Right.
Stave. It's stave. Stave is the plural.
I know. That's what I'm saying, but I hate staves. It sounds like you're staving off something, but it's all good. But you see, you get the point now. Now, in D20, I guess you do the reflex save.
You do a reflex save because you're jumping out of the way. And it's
regardless.
Or you're singing that Duran Duran song.
Oh,
the reflex.
Oh man, I tell you. But see,
sorry.
if a fireball, whether it comes from a scroll or whether it comes from a spell or if it comes from a wand, it's always going to be a reflex. And then, like I said, there will be specifics where that would change. There'll be times where that changes. But again, so converting from D20 to first edition can be a daunting task. Oh, yeah. But again, you got to be flexible. And just like Nick said, you have to know your rule set and not forget how things change again, because they're going to a much more simpler format as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And it doesn't have to be perfect.
No, it doesn't. And that's right. It doesn't have to match exactly. And I was just telling, and I'm telling all the folks out there, I was just telling, Vince and Nick here, you missed this, Crispy. But, I talked to a friend of mine that went to a gaming store down here today, and a couple of days ago, as a matter of fact. And he says to me, he brings me a character sheet, and he says, I want a character that looks like this. And I'm thinking, like, you want an actual miniature made by Reaper that matches this character. It's not going to happen, my friend. Here you go. Here is a gnome or whatever it was. It was a knoll or something. Here's a knoll, and just pretend that's your character. He said, well, it doesn't look like my character. I said, okay, well, I can't help you no more on this.
My friends are all like that, and I'm just like, come on, guys.
Yeah, why can't I find a goblin that's carrying a trident and has a lute and a mandolin in his backpack? Why can't I find that miniature?
You're going to kill me.
Because that's a little too specific.
My friend, listen to this. Is he going to hear this? And he's going to say, oh, you told him that? Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I did. I went there.
So what my whole point was on converting, so let's talk about modules. And let me tell you, I'm a big, huge fan of modules. I know a lot of people don't like modules, but let me tell you, there are some
I love them because I'm lazy.
Yeah,
I have warmed up to them.
Oh, thanks. Now it's easy now. But, no, there are some great adventure modules out there. And let me tell you a company that I really like a lot. Well, actually, there's a couple I really like, so don't take anything wrong when I say this, guys, out there if you're listening. Goodman Games. Goodman Games is a great company. Well, I like Green Ronin Publishing. I love their work, and I love the Scarred Lands. Great modules. What is that? Kingdoms of Kalimar. Great modules. Sword and Sorcery. They got great modules and everything.
Yeah, Kingdoms of Kalimar. That was Kenzico.
Yep, Kenzer and Company. So if Jal and all them are listening, let me tell you something. Got to love Kingdoms of Kalimar, which was really great. And Scarred Lands, and there's so many things out. Great adventure modules, but the problem is they're D20. You're like, ick, ew, and whatever, nasty. You're not going to touch them. Even Goodman Games, all their modules were 3.0, 3.5. Great modules, and again, the problem is people won't play them because they don't know how to convert them to first edition.
You used to be able to go on the Goodman Games website and get first edition versions of some of their modules.
Yes, they did have a few of those, like the Saga of the Rat King.
Yes,
they did a first edition conversion, which I have, and it's fantastic, folks. If you could still find it out there, I think if you go on, if you could still get PDFs of these on what's the website? They do PDFs of everything for games. Drive-Thru RPG. Check that out there. They might have it at least in PDF format. But I'm glad you brought up Dungeon Crawl Classics because that's a great place to go to for third edition modules that have a first edition feel to them, and that's what they marketed them for because they found. Not very long after 3E came out in 2000 that there were people saying, you know what, some of the new adventures that they're putting out by WotC, not so great. So Goodman's like, well, what do they want? What are they looking for? They're looking for the old dungeon crawls and stuff like that, and that's what they went for. And it's been a fantastically successful line for them.
Yeah, I have a box of Dungeon Crawl Classics.
Oh man, I got a whole slew of them suckers, and let me tell you, they're just, and then they're just great. And you know what? As far as conversion, those are actually pretty easy to do. I think, at least in my opinion.
Well, I find them to be extreme. Now, are we talking about it on this segment concerning the Dungeon Crawl Classics number 29, The Adventure Begins? We're talking about the Green Book, right?
Yes.
Oh, so that is my segment. Okay, I just want to make sure that's what it was talking about. Well, I'm going to tell you, and this is to all the listeners out there, if you're needing adventures short ones, and these are kind of short now. There's Dungeon Crawl Classics number 29 called The Adventure Begins, which is a hardback book. And then it's Dungeon Crawl Classics number 48, The Adventure Continues, which is another hardback book. Number 29 is green, and the number 48 is a bluish color. The ones I think you want to pick up are the ones from the green one, because let me see how many there was again. I thought there was 10, but it's more than that.
Yeah,
1, 2,
levels
3,
1 to 2
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. There's 20 adventures in here from levels 1 to 2. And you can't beat that. I mean, that is just absolutely awesome.
It's a deal.
And
Yeah, it is a deal.
it's a big deal.
It's a deal. It's a steal.
Right. And so the thing about this this book here and everything, let's see how much it costs. It cost $34 when I bought it back in the day. So you look at these adventures and you're saying, like, wow, these are actually pretty cool. They use the old blue, the dark blue. What do you call those maps? How do you call it again? The regular blue. There's a certain term for it. I can't even remember what it is now.
Geomorphs?
Well, no, it's the old school maps, you know, where it's got the blue background. Background
Yeah.
blue.
Just, they're blue maps, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, the blue maps, the blue background maps. That's what I'll call them for now. So, yes, and they go by that scale. I believe each square is 10 feet. I might be incorrect. It might be 5 feet. So just take that into consideration now that the maps used for D20 are in a 5-foot scale, while those of first edition are 10 foot. So don't forget that. That's a very important conversion thing.
That is.
Yep, exactly. Now, if you use miniatures in first edition, then go to the 5-foot scale. You won't go wrong, and then it'll work out just fine. But if you're not using miniatures, make sure you change it to that 10-foot scale and make sure the maps are appropriate.
Right.
That's an important conversion, is that range increment there.
I have a lot of favorites in this series too. Most of these are just fantastically done, and.
Yeah. I enjoy them. And they got the artwork in there and everything. It's just absolute. And the monsters are easy. I mean, most of the monsters you run into are typical monsters that come from the Monster Manual 1. Now, there'll be some weird ones in there. They might have some strange aberration feel to them. And let me give you an example of one, if I can find one in here. You can't even remember one? I can't even remember one right now. Here goes a Plague White. Well, I shouldn't be talking about this, but it's an NPC creature in here. I guess it is a bad guy, and it's a Plague White with a level 1 of Rogue. Well, you have many options what you can do with a creature like this. You're not going to find this in the first edition Monster Manual, nor in the second or Monster Manual 2 or any of those things. So you have to look at, well, one, it's a white. We know what a white does. When it hits you, it drains a level. And it pretty much does the same thing in this one, too.
And just give it the abilities of a first-level thief. Boom.
Yeah, and let me tell you, it's just amazing how it all comes in there. Now, being that it's called a Plague White, that should, set off some bells there in your brain housing group that, hey, maybe it spreads disease too when it touches you. So not only does it drain a level from you when it strikes you, there's a chance it can cause a disease, like a mummy rot or some other type of disease you want to give it.
Sure.
There's so many types of diseases. Give it a funny disease, And then, like I say, give it the skills of a rogue. I mean, let's look at whites. What do whites do? I mean, they're quick undead. They can run. They can jump. They hide in shadows. So again, what are you doing? You're just giving this white a couple more abilities. I mean, that's how simple it is to convert.
Right. And and I think that's the thing. Don't be afraid of doing the conversion thing, because no one's going to know if you're right or wrong. Just use your best judgment on all this stuff like we've been saying. And I'm just looking through their old, and you can still find a lot of these out there, but some of my favorites of their series, I would have to say like Idols of the Rat King, which they did a conversion of that whole Saga of the Rat King series, which was fantastic. Dungeon Crawl Classics number 3, The Mysterious Towers, very good.
Yes.
Crypt of the Devil Lich, very good, high-level adventure, very cool. Got to check that one out. What's another very good one here? God, there's so many that I could just... The Scaly God is an excellent middle-range module. And this is something that I would say is lacking a lot from the original when we played in first edition. There was always low level first through third or high level adventures. There wasn't a whole lot of middle range. You're talking like 4th through, 7th, 8th level. Yeah, 4th through 7th level. This one, the Scaly God, levels 4 through 6, can fit that perfectly if you're finding an adventure to do for your campaign. When your player characters are in that level range, and it's easy to convert, folks. Not a problem.
Right. Now, see, let me give you an example. We're going to jump back to this Plague White now because I picked him out specifically and everything. And when you read creatures of these modules of the D20 stuff and everything, it says he has a special attack. His special attack is an infection.
Actually, we'll get into that later on.
Huh?
We'll get into that later on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, good to go. Just making sure and everything, but I want to cover that. That's very important because when it comes to conversion, look at the entire creature, look at all its special abilities, not special attack, it's special abilities. You want to convert those over into first, and I mean, it's so easy. And you know what?
Yeah, just
don't go back to this. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Plug and play.
If you're fighting goblins, just take out your 3.0 goblins.
Right.
And replace them with first edition goblins.
Yeah. Yep, pretty much.
The only exception that I have to that case there is in the event that you find like an orc shaman or an orc cleric. Sometimes it's not bad to have some of these humanoid monsters to have those kind of classes. Especially, shamans, they'll have clerical spells and so on, and all that. Just like half orcs, they can be, illusionists or what have you, because in the UK series, you run into some spellcasting half orcs and people saying like, really? An half orc can be an illusionist? They never heard of that before, and that's a surprise. And that's what you want to do if you want to re-energize people into playing first edition. Oh, and this is the thing I love about conversions, and we missed this point is, I mean, how many people do you know memorize all the monsters from a monster manual?
Oh, please.
Oh, God. Yeah,
it's
I'm that guy.
You see what I'm saying? So now you want to switch it up a little bit. Give it a class. Give it a special ability. Give it some other weird things and so on, because you want them to knock them off balance, but not so much that they're confused. And
it's a good way of keeping your players on their toes.
Right. And say, that's not in the monster manual. I am the DM. Who are you talking to, my friend? That kind of stuff and everything. So, yeah. So conversion, oh, yes, definitely. Sword and sorcery modules. If you really want high-level modules that are really effective in inspiring horror and death and mass destruction, go to those modules. I like it because they use a lot of the old devils and demon lords from first edition, like Jubilex and all them nice guys. Yeah, and it's just amazing what you can do with these modules and convert them back to first edition, and they're very much playable. Got to be flexible, and like I said, know the rule sets of both games. Get familiar. You don't have to know them like the back of the hand, but use it. And and there's nothing wrong with asking people, how would you convert this into this? Because sometimes I look at this, I said, you know what? Get rid of that, add that. Get rid of this, add that. Add this or whatever. Just like Crispy said, plug and play or place. Mm-hmm. It's exactly what it is right there. Real simple, not too difficult. You don't need a conversion guide. No. And just like I said, if you see a goblin in 3.0, go to first edition Monster Manual. Wow. This looks like a goblin. Use that goblin.
Mm-hmm. Right. And for those of us out there who are listening to the podcast and they are, maybe they did start with third edition or fourth edition. Well, there's a lot of products out there right now in the OSR. If you can't get the original first edition books, but you can, and they're look on eBay and stuff. But there's what, Labyrinth Lord
they're free.
And they're free
games.
Yeah, Adventures. What was it? The Adventures
Dark and Deep.
Adventures Dark and Deep is another good one to use.
Delving Deeper.
Yep, Delving Deeper.
So
there you go.
There's 3 different versions of Swords and Wizardry, depending on what flavor of OD&D you want to play.
Right. There you go. So, there's a lot of stuff out there if you can't get the original first edition AD&D books. If you want to spend the money and find them on eBay, you can.
And what I find to be true about the retro clones is they're written a lot clearer. They're a bit easier to understand and they're a bit better organized. So, they're not going to be the exact same game, but they're pretty damn close. That
just the Gygaxian is taken out of it.
Yeah.
Right. Now, it's good that you brought up that stuff and everything because, again, if anyone remembers, Frog God Games is doing all of these conversions, and it's really interesting how they're doing that because they took, if y'all remember this, if you did D20, you remember the Tome of Horrors 1, 2, and 3?
Yeah.
They took that and combined that into one big book called the Complete Tome of Horrors. I can't remember now what it's called. It's a big one anyway.
I have leafed through both versions. I've played Sword and Wizardry with
You should have that
monsters
book.
from.
Yes.
I have. Okay, so I bought my copy of Swords and Wizardry from the copy editor at Frog God Games at NeonCon, which is our local gaming convention here in Vegas. And I kind of have a hookup at Frog Gods for at cost. And I've been like, for books. And I've been like toying with the idea of getting the Tome of Horrors, but
Crispy,
yeah.
you're my new best friend.
Well,
Oh, see, Crispy thinks he got the hookup, but the good thing is, though, Bill Webb,
Yeah, that's my hookup is Bill Webb.
yeah, he lives an hour away from me.
Oh, wow.
Yep. As a matter of fact, I got some signed copies of it from him. He hooked me up. He's a good guy. He takes care of the military. So,
Yeah.
but yes,
Okay,
but they took that and converted it over to Swords and Wizardry, and then they converted it over to Pathfinder.
Mm-hmm.
So they have the book. It's so simple. It's just too easy. Like I said.
Too easy.
Yep, too easy.
anyway,
Royale
But
cheese.
if you are going to look at the Tome of Horrors, it's an expensive book. It's like $99 for the actual book,
wow.
and then you can get the PDF for like $30. But it's
800 pages.
Yeah, it's like an 800-page book. It's huge. It's literally a tome.
Wow.
And the Swords and Wizardry one is really nice because with the Pathfinder version, it's one monster per page. You get 2 or 3 monsters per page, and it's just as many pages for the Swords and Wizardry one.
Cool. All right, let's head into our next segment, game mechanics.
Oh man, what the heck is that?
Stand aside, you fool! I have a spell that will work here!
What do you mean I can't hit with that? Oh, right, fine. Show it to me in the book.
Welcome to Game Mechanics.
Alright, game mechanics today is going to be converting encounter levels or challenge ratings to first edition. So, something that 3.5 and 3.0 and Pathfinder and 4th edition kind of does that I really, really prefer is instead of having the hit dice kind of being your gauge for what people are fighting, they've really got a kind of narrowed down science for like what level you're supposed to be fighting stuff, and they've got a whole range of things. Pathfinder, I think, does it the best. You've got your CR system, which is challenge ratings.
Which is
Basically, a CR is this is what level of characters should be fighting this thing.
the average level in your group should be fighting, right?
Yeah, and you can. There's a lot of leeway. I mean, if you're 4 adventurers fighting a CR, like you're level 3 fighting a CR3 encounter, it's going to be a standard encounter. You're going to use about a fourth of your resources, but you're going to win. And then if you go +1, it becomes hard, or like moderately hard. If you go 1 above, so they're fighting 4th level characters, or 2 above is really hard. So if they're fighting a 5th level monster like a basilisk, that's a CR5. It's one of them is going to get pretty hurt. You might lose 2 if they don't play really smart. And then CR3 is an epic challenge. CR plus 3 is epic level, which is basically someone is going to die.
Okay.
That's your boss fights are your CR plus 3.
So basically, what they did was they took it and they put it they put the monsters in category of levels that should be played to make it easier for the DM to make encounters quickly.
Make encounters quickly and encounters that aren't just going to TPK the whole party.
Yeah, see, and let me tell you something real quick on challenge rating. And I have a big problem with this system because I don't think that it's done correctly. Understand that when we have a challenge rating, let's say the challenge rating of a monster is 6. Well, that basically means that the average level of the party, should be of that where they can defeat one of those monsters. One. Not if you have 10 of them.
Right.
See, that's the problem where it's broken at now, because let me give you an example. Now, we're talking about conversion. When I converted G123 to 3.5, obviously, it's remember now, against the Giants, it starts off 8th to 10th level. Well, I'm telling you right now that 8th to 10th level characters are not going to survive the first module. So the CR rating is kind of weird, so you got to be real careful how you use CR based on the characters and everything. And again, at one time I remember it takes with the Pathfinder especially, we're talking about conversion and everything. Challenge rating to me was that it takes 4 people of that particular level to defeat one creature of that CR.
Right.
4 characters now, not 6 or 10, but 4 characters.
Yeah.
And I based that basically on how they do their Pathfinder adventure modules, because if you see how they do them, it's only 4 characters in there. They give you 4 NPCs to play, so it's always based on that 4 party rule.
Right. When they made 3rd edition, they pushed it down because the average number of players reduced, according to Wizards' thought, to 4 players per average group. If you're thinking back in the 80s when we were playing 1E or basic, the average number of players was anywhere from 6 to 10.
Yeah.
And this is coming from a guy who's played 4th edition with 8 people, 8 players, and myself.
Wow.
That must be
you ain't having no TPK in that.
No. Yeah. It definitely, I like the 4 people group. I think that works out great, because then if you have one of every type of main character class, you've got all your bases covered.
Right. See, I prefer to have at least a minimum of 6, because I like support cast characters too as well. But again, the challenge rating, it is a very good concept for 4 players, but then it becomes skewed if you have more players or if you have less. And that's something we noticed this week and everything also with the 1st edition group, because when we play 1st edition, I got a Pathfinder group, we play 1st edition, and so they say what kind of CR rating is that? We don't have a CR rating in 1st edition, my friend. What are you talking about? That stuff doesn't even matter right now. You're only 5th level, so that's all you need to care about. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the thing about the CR system, it does account for that. I think it's every 2 characters or something like that, your CR actually, the things that you can fight jumps up 1.
It jumps up 1, and that is correct. Yes, it is.
And then the more times the amount of monsters you're fighting doubles. So if you're fighting 1 CR6, that's a CR6 encounter. If you're fighting 2 CR6s, that's a CR 7.
Right, so it gets crazy. It's very interesting how they do it. And see, another thing that I love about this, and then we go back to 1st edition. Remember when you can summon monsters?
Yeah.
You get those summon monster spells?
Yeah.
Now, in 1st edition, let me tell you, when you summon that monster or whatever it is with those summoning monster spells, or what is the other one the druids have? Is it summon Nature's Ally? Well, I don't know what
animal summoning.
Animal summoning, that was what it was and everything. But see, in these newer editions, the D20, I just say D20, that covers all of them pretty much.
Yeah.
In the D20 system, if I have a wizard or a druid summon a creature, it doesn't affect the CR whatsoever. And
because that's accounted for as part of their class. The ability to function to get more monsters on your side is a function of your class.
And that's the problem with the CR again, because look what happens when let's say you have what is that most powerful demon? Not demon, but a devil, the Pit Fiend. A Pit Fiend has the ability to summon another Pit Fiend, if I'm correct. Well, let me tell you, one Pit Fiend is bad enough as it is, but now...
CR 19. You have to be 19th level to fight.
Yeah. Now, if he summons another one, and you're telling me the CR is not going to go up? That's insanity. That's insanity, because now you got another CR 19 creature there. Or he might be a CR 18 because he'd be a little less powerful than the one that summoned him, whatever the case may be. Again, so this is where I have issues with CR. Or EL. Or did we discuss EL yet?
Encounter level. I think their CR became encounter level.
That's what it was. Okay.
Encounter level in 3.0 is basically that's trying to think of the right words. Encounter level is that's the total amount of creatures, like their challenge ratings put together equals like an encounter level.
There you go. Exactly.
And then there's ECL, which is effective character, but that's dumb. We're not even going to get into that.
What was it? Was it skill rating? What was the other one for? Skill challenge or
skill challenge is a 4th edition thing.
Yeah.
Are you thinking of level adjustment, Vince?
Maybe.
Oh, the level adjustment. Yeah, that's what you want to talk about, Vince. That's what.
I'm so glad they got rid of that.
Yeah, go ahead. Talk about it, Crispy.
Okay, so like if you have a drow, right? A drow is it's a CR like 1 or whatever, but because of their special abilities, they are challenge rating +1. Level adjustment basically. So if you're fighting one drow, it's actually like whatever its actual CR is +1. So instead of making that thing just be the total amount of levels, they threw in some more obtuse math that is terrible. But I think what the point of this is, encounter levels and CRs, it's a good jumping off point for this is roughly how tough a monster that they should be fighting at this level. Swords and Wizardry, I know I feel like I'm ranting and raving about it, but it's so good, uses challenge level, which is basically the old school version of CR, and it's basically it goes by the hit dice. 3.0, sorry. D20 doesn't quite do that. You can have a 16 hit die creature that's like a 14th level CR just because of what type of creature they are and whatnot. But basically, and it doesn't have to be perfect because it's your game. No one's going to know that you're doing it wrong or you did it wrong, as Nick said.
Right.
The hit dice of the monster should be roughly what they're fighting. Like, you have a 3 hit die creature on the 3rd level of a dungeon, and that 3rd level of a dungeon is where 3rd level characters should be adventuring. Or start. Like, when they hit 3rd level, now they can go to the 3rd level of a dungeon. And that's something that I see pop up in old school games, is like, 2 hit dice creatures are tougher than 1 hit die creature, so they're going to be on the lower levels.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, it's not always it's not always that.
Yeah, try that.
Yeah, I kept quite silent about all this right up to this point.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
I didn't want to get in a whole up on a soapbox rant about. I think the challenge, not challenge rating, but the whatever the heck it's called in 3rd edition. I think it's way too formulaic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it takes away the flexibility that the dungeon master had in the past, and it also takes away from the unpredictability greatly for your players, because they know at their first level, they know they're not going to run into anything that's going to be too powerful that they can't, handle.
That's the point I was just going to make. Like, in old school games,
you just don't know.
You don't know. And that's good. I like that better personally, because there are points where, like, you need to run away.
Right.
You can't beat this thing.
Also, I think with that thing, it also took away the whole. Somehow, as I was listening, I'm like, well, you know what? If you know that, if on average your group is going to be of 4 adventurers, and you know that you're only going to run into certain types of levels of monsters, then what's the point of having any hirelings?
Okay, see, that's a very good question. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's one thing I want to bring up about Pathfinder. And this applies also to any D20 game, concerning the fantasy portion is, with the Pathfinder modules, let me tell you, even though the characters are 4th level, that doesn't mean that their encounter they're going to run into is equivalent to their CR rating. I'm just going to tell you that right now. That's just not the case, and that happened this weekend with the creatures they ran into. We have 5 players, and the creatures were Yeth Hounds, and they have a bay and attack. Where, they go, ooh, and they all had to make a will save. Well, out of the 5 people, only 2 made the save. No, 2? Yeah, 2 made the save. The other 3 ran. Well, the 3 that ran were the fighters. So now they have a problem. And with the rules on the running away thing from the fear, they run away at full speed, and each of them was 2d4 rounds. So one of them ran away for 7 rounds. The other fighter ran away for 6 rounds. So for the first 7 rounds of combat,
they ran 100. Yeah, that's 700 feet away, assuming that they're in heavy armor. Yeah.
Then, in order to get back, it took them another 5, 6, 7 rounds to get back. So they're almost gone the entire combat. So it was almost a TPK. They got very lucky. Again, this is how tough it is. This is how tough of a game it can be sometimes. It can be very
Pathfinder
confusing.
is very, very good about giving really varied challenges, because the other thing is lower level monsters, a number of them count for a higher level monster, which is something you can do in old school games as well. Like, I think the guideline S&W gives is for every 2 low level monsters, that's one hit die higher, or challenge level higher.
Right.
So if you take out 2 goblins, you get an orc, or not an orc, hobgoblin. I don't know exactly which, but if you wanna put a boss monster in there, just kind of take out a couple monsters and slap that one in, and
right. Okay. Yeah, but I tell you, when you do G1 against the Giants, you better have a good party of 6 people, and you better have some hirelings, because I'm telling you right now, you're not going to survive it.
Yeah. Well, hirelings isn't even a thing in Pathfinder.
That's the whole point. They're not even counted.
Yeah, like you get the leadership feat gives you followers, but like you don't get that till 6th level.
Right. But like I said, that's it. That's how you do it. Old school and new school. I tell you, it's kind of weird now these days.
Mm-hmm. But basically, if you don't want to TPK your players, or you want to keep TPKing to a minimum, like I'm a DM, I don't like to kill players. I just don't. Like,
you don't.
I don't kill the players. I kill the player characters.
Well, yeah.
So, since we're talking about all this,
we're not playing Call of Cthulhu here.
Call of Cthulhu, kill players. God, we're already talking about this anyway. So instead of going into creature feature, let's just expand this segment to include converting monsters into 1E from 3E.
Go ahead, Vince.
So, when you do it, like Will said, just duh. There's a goblin, go to your 1E book and go goblin, duh. Skeleton, duh. Simple enough. That's, no-brainer. But what if you have that weird monster, like, I'm pulling over a D20 book right here.
I can think of one.
What?
Yeah. Or like a goblin that has magic using ability.
Yeah. Or like I'm looking right here, I pulled out the EverQuest role-playing game.
Uh-oh.
That's a D20. D20 supplement works with D&D.
Yes, it does.
Monsters of Norath. Right here. Skeleton, dry bone. Uh-oh. Right here at the top of the bat, what do? Hit dice, 8d12.
That's so many hit dice.
That's a nasty skeleton.
Speed, 40. AC, 18. Attacks, 2 claws, plus 7 to melee, or longsword, plus 7 to melee. Damage, claws, 1d6 plus 3, or longsword, 1d8 plus 3. Face, reach, 5x5. Special attacks, shock of fire.
Uh-oh, that's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah. Special qualities, damage resistance, 10/+1, resistance, improvision, invisibility.
Wow.
Saves, fortitude plus 2, reference, wow. Reflex plus 3, will plus 6. Then it gives you its abilities. Then it gives you its skills. Then it gives you its feats. So,
alright. So we're going to lop off skills and feats.
Yeah.
Get rid of that. Almost not all the feats, though. It depends, because some of those feats might help with why it has such high hit dice.
It has alertness and improved initiative, which we don't want to worry about.
Well, the improved initiative?
Lop off those
get rid of it.
feats.
Lop it. Get rid of it.
So it's an 8 hit die creature. So for the attack bonuses, it's going to attack as an 8 hit die creature. Yeah.
Yep. It's an 8th level fighter, basically.
Mm-hmm. For damage, what was the damage that it did?
Let's see. Damage was 2 claws plus 7.
Or
no, that's its attack bonus.
So that means it has a high strength, because that's going to give it a bonus to attack.
Yeah, and it's
because Yeah, but I have to take a look at that. They wouldn't have an 18-100, so there's a possibility.
Did you say it was like 1d6 plus 3 for its claw?
Yeah, 1d3 plus 3, or 1d8 plus 3 for the
Okay,
longsword.
there you go.
So yeah, it does 1d8 plus 3.
So it's got a plus
like
3.
The plus 7 for attack it's actually lower than its hit dice.
Yeah.
So plus 3 to bonus damage attack is what? 17 strength, right?
Yeah.
So right there, you know its strength is going to be 17.
Yep. Wow.
Okay.
Let's see. AC is 18. So
That
we're
would be
looking at
AC
2.
AC2, yeah.
AC2,
AC2.
but it's got a plus 3 natural. I'm breaking it down now. Why it has an 18?
Right.
So it gets a plus 1 for its dexterity. So we're talking about what, 16 for dexterity now for that?
Probably right around there.
It's an agile skeleton. That's for sure. So
Yeah.
it has a lot of mobility, so it moves quick. So
What is it?
that's
It's
how
16
it's
offhand. I don't have the book in front of me.
Yeah, it's got speed 40. So that is a very, like, base is 30.
Yeah.
So base speed is 12 in AD&D?
That's what it
20?
sounds like to me.
And then it's wearing a plus 4 chain shirt.
Ouch.
Yeah.
So it's just chainmail plus 4. Well, that explains why it has such a high
That's
in
why it
first
has a
edition,
high armor class.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a high armor class in D20, but it's a low armor class in first edition.
So with
That's how you look at it.
So now I'm looking down here. According to 3rd edition rules, his strength is listed as 17, which we guessed at already.
Yep.
Right.
Dexterity 12,
That's a plus 1, yeah.
Plus 1.
which is plus
It
1.
won't have a constitution score because it's undead.
No, yeah, intelligence 3, obviously.
Yeah.
Wisdom 3, charisma 1. Now it has a plus 8 to its jump, which Crispy already figured out it was more agile than normal. Plus 11 to listen and plus 11 to spot.
Yeah.
I would say if it's got plus 11 to spot and listen, I would say it would only be surprised on like maybe a 4 in 6 chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like 5 and 6 would surprise it, like or not 4 and 6.
This is considered a 9 to 16 hit dice monster, medium size for 3rd edition.
Wow.
Yeah, and combat. What Will wanted me to go back on was the special attacks.
Yeah, that's the good stuff.
Shock of fire. 8 times per day. The spell can be cast by an 8th level wizard reflex. Same as his 8th level wizard spell, Shock of Fire.
Wow.
I'm not familiar with that spell. It's an EverQuest spell.
Yeah, it's an EverQuest spell. That's all.
Okay. Well, I mean, basically what it is, this is a creature that was created by some type of hideous necromancer and imbued it with this special ability to do this spell as it attacks.
Okay, so let's quickly take this monster and let's give an AD&D first edition monster for all the people out there listening. I'm going to go down the line and you guys will sound it off. Hit dice. What do we say?
8.
8 hit dice? Okay.
Yeah, 8 hit dice.
Initiative. There's any bonuses to initiative? Probably because of its dexterity, like 1 maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. AC, we said was 2, because he was wearing the chainmail plus 4 shirt. Natural.
Plus his dexterity bonus.
Yeah, plus his natural ability of, I guess, bones.
Oh, his natural bonus, yeah, because he might be a toughened skeleton. His skeleton frame might be imbued with some type of metal or something.
I'm looking in the... No, nothing about it.
It's got move 40. What's fast movement in... What's like above average movement speed in...
Would be 40.
40?
Yeah, wouldn't it? Because it isn't 20 and 30 standard movement?
Yeah, it's 30 is your standard.
It's standard.
Yeah.
Like, that's... An unarmored man moves 30 feet and around.
Okay.
Right.
I was thinking for AD&D.
Oh, it's 120, 12.
Okay.
For
12
humans.
inches for unarmored.
Yep.
Then it goes,
Oh, okay.
So
9
it would be
inches.
one above that. Like,
So-
whatever is a little bit faster than 12 for an unarmored man.
Probably 15.
Yeah.
Go
Probably
15.
15.
You
Okay,
can make it
so-
14 if you want.
All right.
Yeah.
Speed 14. AC, we said, was 2. Its attacks. It has 2 attacks if it uses its claws. Mm-hmm. Or
Okay.
1 attack if it uses the longsword. And it gets a plus 7.
And it did 1d3 plus...
1d6 plus 3 for its damage for the claws.
and then the...
Yeah.
Okay.
And the longsword is a standard D8 plus 3.
That's because of the
Okay.
strength bonus.
So what are we saying? It's going to have 2 attacks with its claws plus 7 to hit?
Yeah. 2. Yeah.
I would just say it attacks
I wouldn't give it a
fighter.
Right. I would say it attacks as no. I wouldn't give it attacks as a fighter.
Or as
It's a monster.
Eighth level
It
monster. Or eighth
gets
hit die
as
monster.
as an 8 hit dice monster. I wouldn't give it any bonuses to hit.
Yeah.
I would give it the standard 17 strength bonus to hit.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess you
definitely.
could do that. I think it's what, +1?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's no different than giants or anything because giants have, with their amazing strength, they have all those pluses to hit. I mean, when they hit hard and do damage.
Yeah.
Okay. Special attacks. Shock of Fire, which obviously is a wizard spell for whatever the games of Norath here for EverQuest. So what can we equivalent of? Maybe we can give it
Fireball.
Maybe a fireball
Burning
or
Hands.
burning hands, fire blast or something.
Or shock and grasp.
Shopping grass. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. So that'd be
Special
good.
qualities about it is undead, obviously. Damage reduction. For every 10 points, unless you're using a +1 weapon, you can't hit it.
Yeah.
Ow.
That's basically just like anything that's not. It ignores non-magical attacks.
Right.
Basically,
And I would give it the skeleton, like anything that's not bludgeoning does half damage.
Right. Yeah, bludgeoning does full. Edged weapons only do minimum damage. Plus
But
any strength
you have to have a
bonuses.
+1 to hit it.
So, saves. Will we give them the general standard saves for monsters of its level of hit dice?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always as a fighter.
Yeah.
Right, of its standard of its
Yeah.
hit dice, yeah.
Right, standard hit dice. It'd be 8 hit die monster. Yep.
If you want to break it down further for stats, abilities, 17 strength, dexterity, it says 12, but we're gonna put it more on the high side due to its AC. I was thinking more of a 16 dexterity for him.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, like I said, it's really a non-factor if we go down. I mean, it's not a non-factor, but like I said, we're breaking it down. Yes.
And that's basically it. And the challenge rating for this is actually a 5, this creature.
Wow, a 5?
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense, though. If you have 4 fifth-level characters, they should be
Gang it
able
up
to
on this guy.
They should be able to kill it. They should have no problem killing it. However, if they run into 2 of these guys,
They might have a problem.
they might have a problem.
And also...
Because what did you say CR was? A 5?
Yeah, 5.
So then it would become a 7 with an additional creature of this type. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's how it would work. You round it
I
down.
believe it's 1, 2. Yeah.
Usually round it down.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And where is
What?
another great resource where you can get monsters, Crispy?
Pokemon.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God. I knew that was coming up.
All right. Hold on. Let me go to Bulbapedia.
I did a perfect example of this because
Don't you dare.
people were laughing at the fact that you can't take Pokemon creatures and translate them into AD&D.
Totally can.
I did it on my blog last year. I took a T-Pig. I just took the card, I looked at it, and I said, okay, this little cute monster has 2 abilities, tackle and roll out. Okay, I figured by the description of what it looks like, it's going to be in groups because it's small. So I said 6 to 18 appearing at one point. Size small. Movement, I put 30 feet because it's going to be really quick. Armor class, I put 6 because they're small creatures. They're going to try to run away. Hit dice 2 because it has 2 special attacks, a tackle and a rollout. Damage D4, D6. And other than that, it was just low intelligence and alignment was neutral. So it's not looking to attack you. So there is your basic little Pokemon creature right there.
That's just wrong in so many
Yeah,
ways.
but it's a way to get new monsters that your players don't have memorized.
I have no
guess.
problem with that because and it's funny that you brought that monster out of
But
that
it's
EverQuest book.
Pokemon.
Yeah, but
They
like
don't know that.
they've got dragons and stuff.
Yeah, but you don't have to
Charizard.
call it that. You can call it the I don't know, the bunny pig for all that matters.
Yeah.
I choose you. Chew.
I mean, if you can have a monster of Flumph, you can have a Pokemon monster.
Just because I used a fox with a zapping tail that got pissed off at Crispy in my adventures doesn't mean I was watching Pokemon that day.
Okay, all right. Maybe I'll take a look.
There's a duck that's made of lava.
Yeah.
A lava duck. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
Magmar.
Yeah, but you have flying manta rays in this game. You know, you can't pronounce the name. It starts with an I. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, the existential tickle.
Yeah, whatever they're called. Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, when you was talking about the special attacks or the special abilities, and remember when I was talking about that plague white, it even states specifically that it has a special ability called infection. And it says that any creature standing within 5 feet of a plague white has a chance of contracting a randomly determined non-magical disease.
Yeah,
And again,
so like anything that goes into melee combat with that is subject to that disease. Would there be a saving throw, though?
Of course, there'll be a saving throw, and like I said, but these are the things that you would, if you want to convert them over, it's real simple. That and the ruling is that anyone that fights this creature, when you strike the creature, you see some type of brown, nasty, vile cloud, go in the air.
Yeah, like maybe like spores or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Flavor however you want.
Yeah, you describe it, you hit it in some of the zombie juice or whatever hits you, and it like kind of...
Ew, zombie juice.
Well, you know what I mean. But, again, this is stuff that can be easily converted to something simpler. You just have to use your imagination, and believe me, you can have a whole slew of new monsters at your hand.
So that's converting monsters from 3D to 1D. And obviously, if you're interested in the EverQuest game, it has a whole slew of different rules to play. I know a lot of people wanted some mana-based magic systems. That's a perfect example. Look through those books. It teaches you how to do it, actually.
Yep.
So let's head into our last segment of the night. Dragon's Horde.
As the secret portal yields to your efforts, you stand amazed at a vision from the most fevered dreams of avarice. Before you lies the Dragon's Horde.
All right, in Dragon's Horde, kind of going with our whole conversion thing today, we're going to talk about converting magic items from 3rd edition to 1st edition. And just right off the bat, on doing the conversions, most of your magic items from 3rd edition already appear in 1st edition. So there's really no... I would say a good 80% of them, if not more, are already... don't worry about it. Grab your 1st edition books, or if you can't get those 1st edition books and you're looking like Crispy's doing, going back to old school, find Swords of Wizardry, Labyrinth Lord, or go on eBay or Amazon and find some 1st edition books there that you can buy.
Or go to forshare.com. Oh, never mind.
Don't you dare. Anyway. So that's one way you could do it. And just use some guidelines that we were saying before, just to reiterate, just have a basic knowledge of the rules. For example, in your DM's guide of both books, go to your magic items section, kind of compare the different rules between the two, particularly in your 1st edition book, and that starts on page 116 about fabrication of magic items. And it talks about, the malfunctions of potions, how to make those, how to make scrolls. One thing in particular that I found interesting when I was reading is on page 118 on the fabrication of other magic items is, I believe it was on this page on page 116, Mm-hmm. That in 1st edition AD&D, it was a real, it wasn't a very real big chore or anything about creating magic items, because really it was taken out of the hands of the players. Mm-hmm. It was something that was very difficult to be done. You had to be of relatively high level of being a magic user or a cleric, depending on what type of magic item you're making, either at least 11th or 12th level. And there are no clear guidelines, because it was up to the DM to
come up with it.
Yeah, to come up with how these magic items are made. Like, for example, they give an example of a +3 Dwarven Warhammer. How is that made? Well, it was really up to the DM to come up with an idea on his own how to make that. Each DM should come up with his own way how these things are created. So there wasn't a real cut and dry system, unlike in 3rd edition where there was. Does that mean it's better or worse? No. 1st edition, it gave a little more creativity towards the DM how these things were made. And if they were made, you had to be very high level to get these things done. So enough said on that, which is one thing I did like in 1st edition. I think in 3rd edition, it made the creation of magic items by the player characters way too darn easy. It just So when you go to your book and you want to convert something that might not be in third edition, to first edition, and it is not in first edition, like let's see, here's a real good one. I believe the Staff of Security, and it gives like how to create this particular item. Well, you just throw that right out. There is no creation of this item. You could use those guidelines if you want to, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't. So that's okay. But overall, when you want to convert some of these magic items, if there aren't any first edition equivalents to them, just use your best judgment. And that comes down to what's an equivalent spell to this or something close to it. Mm-hmm. What's the your fortitude reflex saving throws? What do they convert to in first edition? Use those. So where it says maybe save versus fortitude, but it's a rod, use save versus rods and staffs and wands in first edition. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. There you go. Staves. I call it staves. Potato. Whatever.
Use your own best judgment on what you need to do.
If you can't find anything, like we were talking about that monster that had that kind of special ability, that skeleton, for example, maybe there is a magic item here that, there is a nothing that's magically equivalent to it. You know what? Make something up. Mm-hmm. It's AD&D. It's D&D, folks. Make something new. Use your imagination. Kind of use what's in the book there as your guideline, and just make something up on the fly, and just see how it works. That's really all there is to it. Yeah,
you're the final arbiter. Like you're the referee. You get to decide what's right or wrong.
It's in your hands, Captain Planet.
Oh God, Captain Planet. Anyway, let's not go on that tangent. But really, that's all there is to the magic conversion. Yeah, conversion stuff is go with the books, find what those particular areas are in the books, read over them. Go over your magic items. If there's already a magic item like the Rod of Lordly Might, which came from first edition AD&D, there you go. There's no conversion needed. It's right there in the book.
I can do a pretty easy conversion right now on an artifact from one of my campaign worlds from when we were playing 3.5. Mm-hmm. It's a sword called Fury. It's a +2 human bane sword, which basically means it's a +2 sword, so +2 attack, +2 to damage. But anytime you hit a human with it, it does an additional 2d6. So that's a lot of extra damage. So if I were to make that for like Labyrinth Lord, it would be a +2 sword, and it does another +4 against humans. So +6 against humans.
Okay, yeah. Or you could stick with what you have. There's no right or wrong about it. It's just what you feel comfortable as a DM, and as long as you're consistent in your rulings and how you do things, that's the important thing.
Yep.
So
cool.
And that's really all I got to say on that.
Yeah. Well, I
like
see.
Forrest Gump there, and that's all I got to say about that.
That's about that.
But I will add, though, the good thing about it is, though, you can port over a lot of the new types of potions or the new types of rings and all the new magical stuff that's not found in first edition. You can port this stuff over and easily convert it over. I mean, because you have potions of bull strength. Now, we don't have no potions of bull strength, but I believe we have potions of giant strength, which is almost similar. But, you can change it around, figure it out, and just make the conversion. It's really simple.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I'm glad you brought that up, because there is something in there in the third edition book that I actually found useful. And that's, boy, do I sound jaded against 3E.
Yeah.
Sorry. But it's like using some of those special abilities from magic weapons and armor and some other things that aren't found in first edition. Why not use some of those things in your first edition game? Kind of spice things up, like you said, Will. It's something new, something that your player characters and the players themselves have not seen, and that's what all about. It's about exploring and finding out new things, and seeing different lands and killing them and taking their stuff.
Yeah, it's not players from memorizing everything.
A great book, a great little reference book to get new magical items that are just off the wall is Diablo 2. That was made for second edition. Yeah. It has I think it's called The Awakening or whatever. It has 1 million magical items that you can generate. So your players are not remembering those ones. So with that, I think we're going to end our crunchy show for this week.
Crunchy.
Yeah, this has been a real crunchy show this week, actually.
Yeah, I think there's a guy called Crispy that was here. That's why it was crunchy. Crispy, I have to say, you sound like another guy that I don't know if you've seen. You sound like Spoonie. You know the Spoonie experiment?
I do know Spoonie. I love Spoonie, actually.
You actually sound like him. Like, man, he almost sounds like Spoonie. Like
Spoonie.
The SpoonieExperiment.com. He makes internet reviews.
Yeah,
the best one to watch is the Dragon Strike review.
Yeah, and he's a gamer too.
Yeah, he used to write for Knights of the
Dinner Table. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
All right, so we're going to say goodbye this week, and if you want to write in, rfistaff@gmail.com, 570-865-4210, the hotline. So we're going to keep original, keep it old school, and instead of saying keep clerks with blunt weapons, we'll say different. We'll have something different this week. Stay tuned next week when Will does another short class.
Oh, man.
Good night, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.
Roll for initiative.